Hello, Team MaxMe. I feel like we're getting now to a point in our journey together where I can start referring you as part of the team. So thank you for joining us again, and for any new viewers, welcome. Today, you get me. I know normally you will get somebody else that we're having a conversation about a particular topic to do with human skill development. But today, hopefully, you're okay with it just being about me. And I want to explore today something that's come up a couple of times for me in the last couple of weeks, actually, and probably, truth be told, in the last few months. And it's this concept of the younger generation and their sense of entitlement. I have a view on it that's not always popular, and for those that know me, you'll know that that's not always unusual for me. But my view is that it's not entitlement that they feel. The reason why I think that is, one, because I do have Gen Zs in my life. I actually have my own children, I have nephews, I have kids of friends of ours. And I'm not sure that entitlement is what I'm observing. But what I am observing is just a sense of confusion. And then when that sense of confusion presents, or I guess the realities of what our younger generation are facing into, an over-indexing of information that they can't always make sense of, even if they're in their older years. When they're faced into this sort of grappling with what is going on around them and trying to make sense of it, they step in and have to move forward. So they step in and do what they think is right. And generally, it reflects the way that they've been brought up, the things that they've seen around them, the information that they've been a party to, and the messaging that's coming through that. And so I truly believe that it's not entitlement that they're feeling, but they are living out. They're very much their sort of nurture side of the equation. We talk a lot about this concept of nature versus nurture. We know that the same person in the same circumstance will form differently, and that's the beauty of humankind. The fact that we are all different, and getting the best version of ourselves is not the same journey or learning or pathway that the next person will take. So what our youth are facing into is living out what they've seen, observed, been taught, this concept of what gets measured gets done. What they've been told to value, they do value. The way that they've perceived they need to behave is the way that they behave. Now, I'm not talking about the edges of society. We know that there will always be people that, regardless of their nature, regardless of their nurture, things will look different, and they'll step in and do things that probably don't make sense in terms of that equation. Lots of time and effort and love, security, kindness, all of the positive things that humans need to grow into a confident, best version of themselves. They may have been given all of that in spades, and yet still they choose a path that's unexpected for them. But that is not the norm. That is not the standard. Many of our children, my children, your children, you might not have kids yourself, but you certainly are likely to be in family units where there are young folk. I believe that they're living out what they've seen and what they've been brought up to value, to acknowledge, and to step into. So why is that relevant? Well, that's relevant because if we take the mindset that our younger generation are not what they need to be, or not really doing what we expect them to do because they feel a sense of entitlement, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Our mindset won't change, our direction, our, willingness to coach, mentor, and guide them to a different way. We're unlikely to step into that because our mindset is, well, they feel entitled and they're sort of flawed individuals, and therefore we're just going to leave them to be. I feel that to step in and really help the younger generation, which, as those that know me and know about my business, is the reason why I left corporate and have stepped in and started my business, MaxMe. It's all around the interventions that are required to drive change and to intervene in something that might already, the train has left the station, actually what happens when the train stops at that next station? What can we do differently to potentially change direction for that train and where it goes next? So these interventions are very much a part of how do we change the mindset and the pathway that our young folk have already been set on, the things that they've seen, learnt along the way, what they value, and generally at the moment they do value, unfortunately, this sense of perfectionism, this degree of I'm not good enough. Our market research recently has started to see a sense of this quarter-life crisis emerge for sort of the kind of 25, 26-year-old Gen Zs who have started their career. It's not what they've expected. They've sort of been raised to believe that anything that they want to achieve, they can achieve, which is sort of partly true. If you're willing to work hard for something, generally good things will happen, but you can't achieve everything. It's not possible to be everything to everyone. Yet we've brought them up with that psyche. We've also taught them to value this rote learning approach to life, which generally means they're less willing to really open their minds to different ways of being, to creative problem solving, to failure. Our kids are preconditioned to believe that the 99.95 ATAR is what good, studious, hardworking students achieve. If you don't achieve that, somehow you're not as worthwhile, or you're less worthwhile. And then of course we don't really help them to assume this sort of sense of everything that can be, this sort of imperfection that is the reality of life. They seek this perfection, they're brought up and see perfection all around them, and that's what they value. So an intervention is required. We need to step in as the adults in the young adult world. We need to step in and help them to see a different way. And it is a whole system approach in our view. It's about the parents. It's about the companies that these young folk work for if they're lucky enough to be in work. It's around the educators, secondary, tertiary educators. And it's about this sense of helping them to assume their whole self as they prepare for work. Not just the technical skills and the things that they're developing through the studies that they're doing at the moment. How do you give them an intervention that helps them to prepare for their whole self entering the employment world, their soft skills, their human skills, as I like to call them? What intervention is required to help them to start to develop those? And then of course it's government and agencies. It's a whole of system approach that's required to really make the difference. And the benefits are so huge, not only in confidence, in preparedness for work. I'm a true believer, and studies are showing that people who step in and are more self-actualized, more self-aware, more confident, more work-ready, do have less well-being issues in the workplace and in life in general. And then of course it's this sense of who am I, my value, my purpose, and how does the thing that I do so much of my time every day, work or study, if you're studying still, how do I become the best version of myself when I'm doing that, and learn to really enjoy it, learn to value those other things, and really step in and become your best version of yourself. If we don't intervene and if we don't really change the game, we are unfortunately set on a pathway where our young folk will continue to struggle to make sense of things. We will continue to see this pervasive issue of mental health and lack of well-being in our young folk, even before they've started living their full best life. So I implore you to join me as part of this human skill development movement, to step in, to role model, to have different conversations, to bring different solutions to our young folk, help them to see things differently, step in and be their elder. We are their elders. In time gone by, the elders led communities. We need to be the elders that step in, that lead, that role model, that show, that suggest. And I truly believe that things will improve, and they need to improve, because in the next decade, 2/3 of roles will require highly developed social and emotional skills. And currently, our young folk, we are not giving them the experience and the interventions required to help them be successful in that world. We owe it to them, we owe it to ourselves. So, continue to join me in this, challenge that we are facing into, and the conversations that we're having on the MaxMe at TheInformer around really opening our mindsets to what is possible. Thanks for joining me for another episode. Hopefully that wasn't too much of a rant. As you would have seen, I'm truly passionate. I've done a lot of research and study in this area, and we've brought some solutions to the market that we hope will truly make a difference, because that's why we turn up every day at MaxMe, to really make a difference. So thanks for joining, and I look forward to next week's episode. See you.